something tomorrow. Know what you know, Sha. Okay, so KZ has 6 units of wood and 28 units of free time, in which it will make a decorative screen. 2 model XY are sold well in the past. Consequently, KZ restricts himself to these 2. He estimated that model X require 2 units of wood and 7 units of free time, while model Y require a unit of wood and 8 hours of free time. Is this a unit of wood and 8 hours of free time? Sorry, just a minute. Quickly check from the source. Am I correct with that assumption? Let's see. I think I'm correct. Yeah, it's correct. It's correct. 271. It's correct, bro. No need. It's correct. It's correct. So this is our question. So look at the requirements. So look at the requirement. The first requirement states that formulate linear programming model. Please, if you don't know anything, everybody, if you don't formulate this, I will not be happy with you guys. First, learn how to formulate first. This one is like a bonus mark for everybody. You should know how to formulate now. We've done series. If you don't know, there are plenty of questions that I have solved in this particular store. If you check on the beginning, I have solved many questions on how to formulate. So please, this one should be the easiest. So A, formulate a linear programming problems, right? So the first thing you say there, how many things do we have now? They say that KZ has 6 units of woods, okay, and 28 hours of free time. So this thing that KZ have, don't be deceived. These are your constraints. So this question that they are starting with the constraint. This wood and free time, they are your constraint. Your objective function talks about what you want to do. Under the objective function, we have 2 things, right? If you are formulating, the first thing is your objective function. Under this objective function, we have to go either way to maximize profit or minimize cost. So this thing that they say that he has 6 units of wood and 28 hours of free time. These are your constraints, okay? Wood and free time and our constraint. So 2 models, these are the products that we want to use. 2 models X and Y are sold well in the past. So what you will say is that before you even start your objective function, you said let X1 represent 1 unit of model X, right? Then you said let X2 represent 1 unit of model what? Model Y. So now we are done with this. So what is the objective now? They now say that so that it estimated that 2 model require 2 units of X of wood and 7 hours of free time. While model Y require units of wood and 8 hours of free time. So these are your constraints. So you can use this one to form your constraints, right? Your constraint variables, right? Then the contribution are 1,002 and 18. So that is the contribution that I want to make. So objective function is, since it's contribution, I say maximize Z, right? We have 1,002 X1 plus 1,008 X2, right? That's the objective function. Then you now say subject to, what is the subject to? These are your constraints, right? What are your constraints? The first constraint is wood. Okay, the first constraint is wood. So now they say that with the total wood we have is 6 units, Abi. We have 6 units of wood. So first of all says that your answer will be less or equal to 6, right? Then they also say that we have a total furniture of how many? We have a 28 hours for free time, Abi. Okay, so for free time, so you are going to say less or equal to, how many free time do we have? 28 hours of free time. So that's less or equal to 28. Okay, so I'm just writing it as if I'm writing an exam. This is how you quickly do it. Right. So this is exam. What I'm teaching you now is exam strategy, how to be fast in the exam. So now I've been able to capture my total constraints. Now let's check how many do I need for X1 and X2. Now look at it now. They said that 2 model X and Y are sold well in the past. Consequently, Crazy restricted himself to this 2. He estimated that X require 2 units of wood. So for x now, I'm going to say 2x1, Abby. I need 2 units of wood for x. Then I also need 7 hours of free time, right? So I'll come here to 7x1. So now I'm done with x. Then plus, how many do I need for x2? They now say that model y require a unit of wood. A unit means 1. So 1x1, 1x2 plus what? Plus 8 hours of free time. That's 8x2. Correct? So we are done with we are done with the LP. So you now say non-negativity. Non-negativity constraint or function or something. Just a non-negativity. So that's x1, x2. Everything will be greater or equal to 0. So a part is done forever and ever. You are done with this part. So this is what sorry, I hope this is clear to everybody. Who doesn't understand the A part, please? Can the person speak fast? Maybe I need to quickly recap. Who doesn't understand A parts? I'm moving on. Please don't drag me back once I leave here. Can I continue? Going, done. Thank you. So B, we are preparing simplex method, right? Simplex method. So now, when you are doing simplex method, you have to repeat this equation here. However, so this equation, you will repeat it, but it will be in form of a simplest way, right? So you have your maximize, like just this same thing you have here, bring it down. Okay, let me do it. Let me do it as if we're in the exam. So you first of all copy this. This is your simplex. Now, guys, are you with me, guys? Let me give you one gist now. How many constraints do we have? We have how many constraints? 2, Abby. Is that also?
Yes.
Hello, guys.
Yes.
So once you have 2 constraints, just put in front of a maxima. Just say OS1 plus OS2. Don't go beyond 2. These are your constraints. So if you have 2 constraints, just say OS1, OS2. That's all. That is OS1 represents the first constraint. OS2 represents the second constraint. Now you now say subject to what? Now let's take them one by one. So you don't need to write wood again. Now just copy this equation as it is now. Copy this equation as it is. So this thing, it will become equal to, but now look at here is the gist. So let me put them. This one is under x1. This one is under x2, Abby. Now, so this OS1 now plus, it will now be plus, this OS1 is constrained for first this is slack variable, right? OS1, OS2 are your slack variable. So this OS1 is the constraint for the first, is the slack variable for the first constraint. So you now make it 1x1, 1x1. Then, okay, now how do you now close it now? Just say 0s2 here. 0s2 basically means you are trying to align with this objective function. However, for the first constraint, you change these ones to 1s1, then the second one will be os2 because this one is useless. Anything multiplied by 0. This is 0 actually, not O, is 0. Anything multiplied by 0 is 0, Abi. So it doesn't make so, but when you are drawing up your table, you will understand this better, why I'm including like that. So this is the first constraint. Now, my second constraint is what? This is my second constraint, right? So I will copy it like this, load it. So I have 7x1 plus 8s2. So I will remove this. It will be equal to, right? It's equal to 28. Now, this second constraint, it requires OS2, Abi. But here, OS1 is useless. The S1 is useless. So just call it OS1. Then you now add, the S2 is required to now be 1x2. Okay? Because this S2 is for second, is a slack variable for second constraint, while this X1 is a slack variable for the first constraint. Okay. Now, once you have done this now, so just do your non-negativity wahala. Non-negativity constraint. So non-negativity will be X1, X2, then we have S1 and S2. Everything will be less or equal to greater or equal to 0. So this is our simplest equation. Now, the next thing is to now go to table 1. So let's quickly move on to table 1 now, fast. let's move on to table 1 fast. So I have a format of my tables here. Let me just, I don't want to draw table again. Let me just copy it. Okay, so this is the table. So I will empty this table for you, then we will start afresh. Let me empty the table for you. We will start afresh. Okay, like this. This is sorry, who is that? Anything? Are we cool? Okay, I think we are cool. Okay, yeah. So this is what we have, right? So now these basic variables, they are these basic variables, they are your variables, right? So they are variables. So what are your variables? They are all these x1, x2, then we have s1 and s2. These are your variables. S1 and S2. These are your variables. Now, what is CJ? I taught you the last time. I said CJ means coefficients of the constraint. Yeah? Coefficients of the what? Of the constraint. That's your CJ. Now, who can tell me the CJ for X1 now? Yeah, tell me. No thinking required. Just 1002. What the CJ for X2?
18.
What's the CJ? What's the CJ for S1?
0.
0. Perfect. So now this is what you do. So this CJ means coefficients of the variable. So you will now input your slack variable. Now we have slack variable x1. Your starting point is always your slack variables. Your starting point is, sorry, it will be in this cell. Your starting point is your slack variable. So what's the CJ for S1? 0, Abi. Also S2 is 0. That's this. The CJ here is 0, 0. Right? So what you will now do next is that for each of these constraints now, you have to input their CJ in the box. So for example, for X1, my coefficient is 2. I will enter to here. For S2, my coefficient is what? Is 1. I will enter 1 here. See, CJ simply means the number that is attached to that variable. Don't let me speak too much English. The number that is attached to the variable is your CJ. So here is what number is attached to S1? Simply means 1. What number is attached to S2? That's 0. Then the total of all of them is 6. Right? So that's what you do here. Now, what about S2? That's the second variables, right? So the number that is attached is what? Is 7. Then for X2 is 8, right? No, S2 is 8. Then S1 is 0. And this is what? 1. And the total is 28. So this is basically what this is what you do. So this CJ are those number that are attached to the variables, each of the variables. That's your CJ. Okay. Now, so having done this, now the next thing you move on to, is your ZJ. So please don't waste your time to do any calculation that will give you nothing. For your first table, your ZJ is always 0, 0, 0, 0. So don't waste your time to do anything. For your first table, ZJ is always 0, 0, 0. Why is it 0, 0, 0? Because your ZJ simply means you are multiplying this CJ by the cell. So if you are multiplying 0 by each of these, it will always give you 0. For example, some people may not know. Let me just show you one or two. If I want to calculate S1, X1 now, your S1, X1, I'm referring to, I want to calculate ZJ for X1. ZJ for X1, this one is X1, Abi. It will simply be this 0 here, 0 multiplied by 2. This 2, 0 multiplied by 2 plus 0 multiplied by 7. Everything will return as 0. So if you do that for X2 also, S2, it will be 0 multiplied by 1 plus 0 multiplied by what? 8. It will return as 0, right? If you do for S3, it will be 0 multiplied by this, S1, sorry, S1. It will be 0 multiplied by this 1, okay? Multiplied by this 1 plus 0 multiplied by this 0. And so you do it for all. Everything will return as 0. So don't bother yourself to calculate anything. For your first table, Just put 0, 0, 0, 0 as your Zj. Now, the next thing is your Cj minus Zj. What is Cj? These figures you have here, they are your Cj. Why? This is your Zj. So your Cj mean your Cj minus Zj. That means here is going to be 1, 2 minus 0, 1, 2. Here is going to be 1, 8 minus 0, 1, 8. Here is going to be 0, and here is going to be 0. Okay? So okay, so that is basically what you need to do. So that's what you need to do. Now, so now that you have done this now, you will discover that we have not arrived at optimal solution. What do I mean by optimal solution? For maximization problem, your optimal solution means that all your CJ minus SJ must either be 0 or negative. Okay, for your maximization problem, Cj minus Zj must either be 0 or negative. Now, we don't have negative. So you can see here is okay, right? But we have problem here, 1, 2, and 1, 8. So that means that will lead us into what? Table 2. So this is table 1. So now we will move on to table 2. Okay, but before you move on to table 2, you need to do some little exercise. What is that exercise? First of all, here on this your column here, you need to identify what is the highest here in your column. What is the highest, right? So if you check now, this out of 1, 8 and 1, 2, you agree with me that 1, 8 is the highest, right? So let me copy where I did some selection. 1, 8 is the highest. So 1, 8 is the highest. So I'll copy, I'll just do one thing now. So for that entire cell that contains 1, 8, you have to asterisk it, right? Just circle it. That is very, very required. So this is your key column, right? It's key column is known as your key column. So this area that I've selected now is your key column. No, is this column or row? I think it's row, Abby. Sorry,
It's
I don't
column.
forget row and column. Is it column?
It's
Yeah, thank you.
column.
This is
Yes.
your key column. It's your key column. Thank you so much. So this is your key column. Now, why is the key column? Because that produces the highest Cj minus Zj here. Now, the next thing you do is that this solution table you have here, this solution column here, you will divide it by your key column. So for this one, it's going to be 6 divided by 1, which is equal to 6. Okay. Then here it will be 28 divided by 8. So please, based on Mr. Abbas, don't always leave your answer is something point something, something point something. You must leave it in that same stuff. So if you look at these ones now, by the time you keep dividing, I think you will be having something like 7/2, right? So what am I saying? Divide 28 by 4 and divide 8 by 4. That's 7/2. If you solve it. Don't say 20 divided by 8. You now write the fractions here. Oh, no, that is not how Dr. Abbas, we are following lecturer style. So please always leave your answer 7/2, 1/2. Instead of writing 0.5, please write your 1/2 like that. Okay? So that's the lecturer style. Anyway, so now that we have done this now, so the next thing you need to do is that you need to eliminate one of these two, because the implication in the next table that you are forming, this S2 that produce the highest returns, you must bring in S2, and one of X1 or S2, one of the two must go. How will you know which of these two will go? You will check here, which one produce the lowest or lower ratio. Which one do you think produce the lower ratio? This one give us 6.
7
This
over
one is
2.
7 over. So 7/2 produce the lower, right? So that's your key row. So I'm coming. Let me bring out one sign
Yes.
I've done. So that's your key row. So let me copy this. So where you have the key row now, you will also entire stuff. You have to highlight it with your pen. Okay, you highlight it like that. So now this is your key row, right?
Sorry, can
Then
you
this is your key.
the
Sorry,
one with the
anything?
smallest
Someone?
amounts, right?
Yes,
The one
yes,
with the
yes.
smallest
The one with the
value.
smallest here. Yes, yes, your key
Right?
row. Now the point of intersection between your key row and key column, that is your pivot element. So who can tell me the pivot element here now in this stuff? What is the pivot element? Anybody?
8.
It's
Your That's the point. So your pivot element is 8. It is very, very important. I will tell you later. This is how it should be. Okay, you don't need to circle 0. 0 is useless. So now this is how, so we are done with table 1. So if you look at this table 1 now, who can tell me this thing? There is something called entry variables, variable that we are bringing in, and there is something called exiting variables. So who can tell me the entry variables? Should I call names randomly to be sure that you guys are following? Should I call him randomly, Governor? Can I call randomly?
Yeah. So I support
Mini,
that.
mini, money more, mini, money more, mini, money more, mini, money more. Let me call, oh, I don't know what I'm calling now. Okay, let me call Raymond. Yeah, it seems you are joining my class for the first time. Raymond, can you tell me what is the entering variable and what is the exiting variable, Raymond?
Ramoni, Ramoni, Raymond.
Raymond, Raymond, Oyin da Raymond.
Ramon.
Oh yeah, tell me entering variables and exiting variables. Fast. Are you with us? He's not speaking, you know. Okay, I'll leave you then. Augusto Itoro, tell me entering and exiting variables. Augusto Itoro, what is the entering variable and what is the exiting variable?
I don't know. Okay, I think the last class you mentioned that.
Don't
Can you hear
think, be
me?
sure. Tomorrow is test,
Yes,
be
yes,
sure.
yes.
Last class you mentioned that the entry variable has to be the one that the exiting variable has to be the one that would leave. That's the lowest. That's the x1. I'm not sure. Then the entry variable has to be the one that's the highest.
So tell me which one now is the entry, which one is the entry, which one is the exiting now?
I think
time is going. Let's move.
Okay, I'm trying to test if my people are actually following. Okay, Grace, last hope. Grace, can you tell us entry and exiting? This is the last person I want to be sure that people are following. Otherwise, I could have as well be solving everything. Like it would be like a one-way traffic. I will just be solving it. You'll be watching. Everybody will be watching me. Grace, do you want to attempt it?
Ramon wants to speak.
Oh yeah,
Ramon,
speak.
sorry, it's not Ramon. Ramon. Okay, so
Oh yes.
S2 is the entry variable
Please tell
and
us your name.
S2 is the living variable. Oyindamola Ramon, not Ramon.
I said Ramon
Okay.
now. I said Ramon is not your name.
Okay, which one is the exiting? Which one? Governor, leave her alone. Which one is exiting? Which one is entry?
Entry
Tell me fast.
variable is X2. Living variable is S2.
You are correct, 100%. So living variable is the one that has the lowest here that you are removing. While entering variable is the one that has the highest, which is 1/8. That's X2. So if you don't know now. Okay, thanks. Question answered. Okay, so let's move on to table 2. Fast. No time. Table 2. So we're in table 2 now. We're in table 2. Let's move on. Fast. Okay, so you leave this one is okay. Just leave all this one here. They are still useful. Now, in your new table now, you see that X1 is still there, Abi. X1 is still there. X1. Then you are bringing in X2 and you are removing S2. So I'm bringing in S2, X2. Now, this is what you do now. This is what you do. For the entry variables, the pivot element for the pivot element or the key is the key element for the entry variables, the key element must equal to 1. Okay, it must equal to 1. So for it to equal to 1, you must divide the entire row. You must divide the entire row by that pivot element. So in this case now, my pivot element is 8, Abi. 8 is my pivot element. Okay, I'm coming. 8 is my pivot element, right? So since I am bringing in S2, so it's going to be 8 divided by 8, which must equal to 1. That's the rule. Okay, now, so you will divide the entire cells too by the same 8. So that's the rule. So for the entry variable now, the value in the entry variable for the pivot element must equal to 1. Then the rest of the cells must be divided by that pivot element. So for this one, it will be 7 divided by 8. Okay. Then for X1, it will be 0, Abi. 0 divided by 8.
8.
That's that 0 divided by 8, which
0.
is equal to 0. Then for here, it will be 1 over what? 1 over 8.
1 over 8.
Then solution is 28. This will be 28 over 8. So what's the answer? I think I'll be having like, I should be
7
having
over
28.
2.
That's 7 over 2. So that is what you do for entry variables. So K, go on, K. Ask your question.
Okay. When you are bringing in the entry variable, must it be below or you can arrange it anyhow?
Just
For
place
example, now
it.
this one
Place it.
we have x1,
No,
x2.
this is how you do it. Just replace it by the same column where the variable you are exiting is. You get,
Okay.
I am
So
removing
anyone
S2. So I'm just, you said?
okay, continue.
So because I am removing, I just insert it is at the same row where you are removing variables from. That is a very straight
Okay.
way to do it. Now, so this is where we have some calculations to do now. We have some calculations now to do. For how do you get the value for this now? For all these ones now. So, I gave you a formula. Do I still need to repeat that formula or we should just solve the goal? You guys still want me to give you that formula again? This is the formula.
This is CJ.
Eh? Let's see talk.
CJ. Okay, continue.
Okay, we need to calculate this one first now. So
Now,
for
the
this
one at the back is what I'm saying.
yes, CJ.
S1,
Oh, okay,
S2.
Abi.
1, 2, and 0 and 1, 8.
Okay. This one will be 0. Okay, this one, the S1 is 0, Abi. Then
Yes.
here is what? 1,800. Thank you, I get you now. So now we need to get the value for this X1 now. What we are going to include here, here and here. So for X1, what's going to be the value? So we said that the value for X1 is going to be your initial value of X1. So you check the previous table. You must always make reference to the previous table. So in the previous table, what do we have for X1 before? We have 2. Okay? We have 2 before. So you write that 2 down. 2. Then you now minus what? You minus corresponding key. You minus the corresponding key column. So this one, you minus the corresponding key column. So this 2 now, what is the key column? This is the key column, right? So any key column that is on that row is what you will use for all the figures. So the corresponding key column for this 2 is this 1 here. So because this is where we circled as our key column. So the corresponding key column is what? Is your 1. Okay? So 2 minus 1 multiplied by your key row. Okay? Corresponding row value. So for these 2 now, what is the corresponding row value for these 2? It is this 7. The number that is on the same row without 2, that's your corresponding row value. So it is what? 7. The number that is on the same row with your 2, that's your corresponding row value. So minus, multiply by 7. Then you divide it by your pivot, by your what? Your key or pivot element. So what's our key or pivot element? Which is 8, Abi. I told you that is the point of intersection. So now you just need to do the first formula. Every other one, I will tell you what you'll be changing. You only be changing 2 values. The rest are the same. So this is 8. This is 8. So because I have solved this question before, I will just go ahead and give you the answer. So if you solve it, your answer will be 9 over
8.
8. I have solved it already before. So if you want to know, 7 times 1, 7 divided by, yeah, we have some PhD in math here. So we are not the same. X2 now. X2. So for S2 now, what is the initial value we have for S2 in the previous table? We have 1. It is 1, Abi. This is it here. Initial value is 1. So you bring the 1 down. 1 minus, so this other 1 will be the same. It will be constant for all. Then you will change what is the corresponding row for that X2? The corresponding row is the number that is on the same row with S2, which is what? 8. Which is 8, Abi. So multiply it by 8, then you divide it by 8. So in the formula, This 8 will be constant for all 8 will be constant, as well as let me bold it. 8 will be constant, and this one too will be constant for all. These two will be constant, so you will not change it. Divide it by 8. So if you want to be fast in the exam, just keep, once you get it from the first one, just keep repeating it. So if you solve this one now, what do you get? I think you will get 0.
1.
Is it 0 now?
Okay. Okay, it's 0. Sorry, 0 is 0.
8.
Oh
I
minus
sabi
1.
must pass you now. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 1 times 1, 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So we have S1
That's
now.
0.
So for X1, what is the initial value for X1? It is 1. Okay,
1.
X1 is what? It is 1. So
1.
it is 1 minus, I told you that this one will be constant. So just move on. Then what is the corresponding row? That one now, what is the number that is standing on the same row with it? It is what? 0. It is this 0 here that is the corresponding row. So it is 0. So K, is hand not paining you? Lower your hand now. Okay, I've done it for you. Don't worry. So it is 0, Abby. 0.
Yeah.
0 divided by what? 8. That 8 is also constant. You will not change it. So divided by 8. So I think here you should have what? 1.
1.
Because everything here will be 0 minus. So then the last one is your S2. For X2 now, what is the initial value for S2? Initial value is 0. Okay? It is 0. Initial value is 0 minus 1 multiplied by what is the corresponding row for that 0? Corresponding row for the 0 is 1 here. It's 1. Corresponding row for the 0 is 1. Okay? Then you divide it by 8.
8.
You divide it by 8. 8. So what do you have? I think you will have
Minus
negative
1
1 over 8.
over 8.
Yeah, yeah. Then for that last one, solution table 2, you will do for solution table now. So what is your value here? For this solution table from table 1, we have 6. 6 is our initial value. 6. So it will be 6 minus what? 1 times, what is the corresponding row value for it? Corresponding row value for that
28.
table 1 is what? Is 28. So 28 divided by what? Divided by
8.
8. So what do you have?
5 over 2.
This should be 5 over 2. So now that we've gotten the value, let's insert it. So you will come here now, you insert the value. This is 9 over 8. This is 0. This is 1. This is minus 1 over 8. And this is what? 5 over 2. Okay, your hand is raised. Can you ask me a question first?
Just
Okay, you
to
raised your
get
hand.
clarity. Can you hear me?
I can hear you
Can you hear me?
ask your question.
Okay, just
Yeah, I can hear you.
for
Please ask
clarity,
your question.
that one is the corresponding value for the key element, right? It's always the corresponding
It
column
is,
element.
say, this is the one here. It is constant. Your key, no, is the correct, no, it's like your key column value now. One, this one here, you see here. See where my cursor is. It is the one you will use for all of them. Okay, that's
You
your
know, what I'm
corresponding
trying to say
key
is,
column. Corresponding
uh,
key column value.
key column.
Corresponding key column
Exactly.
value.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. So, this is our answer. So the next thing is we need to look for ZJ. What is ZJ? 0 times this plus 1/8 times this. So ZJ for X1 now. Let's show the workings,
157.
Abby. ZJ X1. No, ZJ X1. It will be 0 times 9 over 8, which obviously is 0, plus 1/8 times 7 over 8. So what is the answer here?
1575.
15575. K, lower your hand. K, yeah. 1575. Abi, you want to be asking? Let me lower it for you. Thank you. Since you've asked your question. Now, what's the second one now? So can you guys do the second one? The second one will be
18.
ZJ S2. S2. So it will be 0 times 0. 0 times 0 Okay, plus what? 1 8 times 1. That's 1 8. So you do the same thing for the other two because of time. So this will give you 0, and this will give you 225.
225.
This is what you have. Yeah, so you now do CJ minus ZJ. 1 2 minus 575. This will be minus 2 2 minus 375. Am I correct?
Minus 375. Yes.
Sorry, you do for these ones too. This should give you 6,500 if I'm right. No, is this 65 or 63? It's 63. This will give you 63. So you can try it. 0 times this. Then 1 8 times 7 divided by 2. That should give you 63. So this one, 1 8 minus 1 8 is 0.
0.
Then this one, 0 minus 0 is 0. Here is minus 225.
Minus 225.
So once you you can see this one is even table 2 that we arrive at our optimal solution. So we are done with the question actually. Is it hard or simple? Is it hard or simple?
We want something like this though.
So you now say decision. Decision. Since you say decision, but Abbas said you cannot go beyond 3, that if you want to above table 3, that they are already pursuing you from the village. Since CJ minus ZJ is negative, is less than 0, is less than 0 or negative. You will say hi. Now reach my optimal solution. Okay, which is 5 over 2 units of x1 and 7 over 2 units of x2, right? Which is 5 over 2 units of x1. We can prove this solution, or we'll prove it now. And 7 over 2 units of s2 to achieve a maximum contribution of, I think it's 6,300. 6,300. 6,300. Yeah. So my people, let us prove this solution. This one, they won't ask, we don't need to do it, but I want you to test whether what we have done is right or wrong. So you copy these two things you have here. You copy this fast. This one is just a side discussion. I want to form over syllabus for you. So we know the value of our x1 and x2, Abi. So here now, if I want to prove with this equation my x1 is not there. So I will say 2 into 0 plus 1x2. Do I have x2? Yeah. So what is my x2? So I have s1 and s2. So my s2 is what? 7 over 2. Abi? 7 over 2 times 1. 7 over 2 times 1 plus 5 over 2 units of x1. 5 over 2 plus s2 is 0 and is 0. So if you solve this equation now, you should arrive at 6. Who want to try for us?
Yes.
So this times 0 is 0. So this is plus 0 plus 7 over 2 plus 5 over 2. If you solve this, you should get 6. Did you get 6?
Yes.
It's correct, Abi. 6.
Yes,
So that is it. That's it. So you can use the same thing for these equations too. You will get 28. Should we do it? Let me show you. So this one will be 7 into 0, okay, plus we have 8x2. What's our x2? Our x2 is 7 over 2. That's 8 multiplied by 7 over 2 plus OS1. Our S1 is what? 5 over 2. 5 over 2 multiplied by 0, then plus 0. This should give you 28. Is that correct?
Yes.
Simply say
it's correct.
It's correct. So that means our solution is correct. This is how you can test yourself in the exam. If you check and it's not correct, just go and submit your script because there's nothing you can do to learn here. Not to learn. Okay. All right. Let me quickly form. let me quickly form the drawer for you, then we'll move on. So we are done with this now. So let's form the drawer, then we can move. I want to show you, even if I cannot finish it, there are 3 variables. I want to show you how to start. At least let me do table 1 and table 2 for you first. Then sure you get. Let's form the drawer. Then for the 3 variables, I want to attempt it tonight too for you. If we cannot finish it by 10:30, we can still do something. See, for C now. So they say form the drawer for the linear programming. So if you want to form the drawer, you bring in the primer. What is the primer? This is your primer. Your primer is your initial what? Solution. According to Dr. Abbas, primer. This is how he spelled it. So for the primer now, so first of all, remove all this. So you now say drawer solution now. When you are forming drawer now, for this primer, sorry, let's move is equal to. So you're for this primer now, what is the drawer solution? Is when you are changing your maximization to minimization, right? Drawer is when you are changing your minimization to minimization. So it will now be minimize C, that is cost. What are you minimizing? Your constraints. So this will now be 6 and 28. So it will now be 6. Instead of x1, you say y1 plus 28. Instead of x2, you say y2. Then subject it to what? Subject to what? So wood, your wood is your y1, Abi. Your wood is your y1, while your free time is your y2. So you say subject to this, right? Subject to constraint. So it will now be 2y1, okay, plus 7y2. What you are doing is that whatever solution you are here, you are just transposing this solution. So 2 and 7 is what I have just done here. It will now be, since it is minimization, it will now be greater or equal to what? This 1002 here. So that will be the final answer you are working towards. Then to form the second one now, you will turn this ones too, you will turn it upside down. So it will now be 1y1 plus 8y2. Then this will now be greater or equal to what? Greater or equal to 1800. So once you have done it like this, then you now say your non-negativity, which is y1, y2 must also be greater or equal to 0. Then solve simultaneously, and you are done. So I don't need to do that one for you. So you can just check your notes to see how you can solve this simultaneously, and that will be the end after you've solved it simultaneously. So that's all for this question, right? So now let me take this one that include 3 models now, 3 variables, sorry. We are done with this one that include 1 variables. We are done. So let's take this one that involve 3 variables. So I'm going to read now. I'm going to read now. So John Furniture, that's the name of the company. John Furniture Company produce and sell chairs, table, and bookshelves. The company has no difficulties in selling its products. However, limited availability of machine time, labor hour, and floor space restricts productions. Production data on the usage of resources, supplies, and profit on items are given below. So we have the machine hour. These are the constraints, labor hour, and floor space as well. So contribution is also given. So required, formulate the above with linear programming. So this one is a bonus for everybody. You should know how to formulate, right? Very simple. A, formulate the linear programming problem. So the first thing you do is that you said, let x1 represent unit, one unit of, so the way Dr. Abbas arranges, that's how you should arrange it too. Shares will come first, table will come second, and bookshelf will come third, Abi. So single units of share. Then let x2 represent 1 unit of table. Then let x3 represent 1 unit of shell. Okay, like this. So our objective function is what? Since it's contribution, that means maximize, you say mass z, maximize z, okay? 270 x1 plus 144, put your naira sign, or since it involves money, put your naira sign, x2 plus 225 x3, subject to the constraints. So how many constraints do we have? So labor, machine hour is the first one. We pick machine hour. Machine hour. So what do we have in machine hour? 845, Abby. 845. So 8x1 plus 4x2 plus 5x3. So everything will be less or equal to what? 1,000 hour. 1,000. So you do for labor too. So labor is what? 533. Okay? 5x1 plus 3x2 plus 3x3. So less or equal to 650. Then the last one is floor space. Floor space is what? 969. 969. 9x1. 9x1 plus 6x2 plus 969. 9x3. So less or equal to 1,260. So once you have done this now, you will now do your non-negativity. So write your subject to, then put your non-negativity. So what are non-negativity? X1, X2, X3 greater or equal to 0. So we are done with the A part. We are done with this formulate the linear programming problem. So the next thing we need to do is determine the optimal solution using Simplex method. Sorry, guys, are you following me? Hope I'm not just speaking to myself alone. Are we together? Are you guys following?
Yes, we are with you.
Yes, we are with you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So this is it, right? So let's move on to B now. B part states we should do what? Formulate the problem using Simplex method. So Simplex method. So if you want to use Simplex method now, so this is what you do now. So this same thing you have here now, just follow. Hello, just follow whatever thing I'm showing you now. Now, how many constraints do we have, guys? How many constraints do we have? Tell me. How many constraints do we have?
Yeah, Kiwi. Kiwi.
3. So just introduce 0s1 plus 0s2 plus 0s3. Introduce say 3 slash variable. Don't waste time. Then you now say subject to what are those constraints now? This is the first constraint. Okay. So for the first constraint now, over to another sheet. So for the first constraint, which is this, so you know here, this is the first constraint. So this is the first constraint. So you have to introduce your first slack variable here. You have to introduce your first slack variable. So that means you will be having one S1. Then the other two variables will be dummy. So you have it 0s2 plus 0s3 like this. So that's what you do here for the first one. Then the second one too, you bring them in like this. This is the second one. So this one is where we need the second slack variables, correct? We need the second slack variable here. So this comes here. This comes here. Trying to rearrange this thing now. So like this, it comes. It comes. So I will remove this. So equal to now. Yeah, I need only second variable. That means the first variable will be the first slack will be 0. 0s1. Then I will now make second variable 1s2. That is one I need. Then the third one will be 0x3. So guys, do you understand the concept of this slack variable, how we are inserting it? Your first constraint will be x1, your second constraint will be slack variable 2, your third constraint will be slack variable 3. So that is how we are introducing slack variable. I don't know if you guys are clear with that, or do you need further explanation on how I am introducing slack variables? Okay, so I think I have to continue. No, nothing. Now the third slack variable is this. So pick this. So this is the third constraint. So we have 9x1, 6, 6. So here now we are going to make 1 and 2 to be what? 0. So this will be plus 0s1 plus 0s2. Then the third one is what we need. It's not be 1s3. That is what we need. So now this is how we form your simplex. Then you now say non-negativity. It will be x1, x2, x3, s1, s2, s3. Everything will be greater or equal to 0. So now we have formed our simplest problem now. The next thing is for us to move on to table 1. So let's move on to table 1 now. So we'll start table 1. We'll move on to table 1 fast, no time. Table 1. So let me bring in my table, my existing table, which I have drawn. Okay. Okay, so this is my table. Okay, now I'm having more this thing, so I'm going to add more line to it. So let me add one here. Okay, done. Then by this side too, I need to add, I think I'm adding 2 more here, 2 more. 2 more, okay. Start, right. 1 more, start. Right. Okay, so now just look at your objective constraint now. Objective function, you need to bring in all those variables. We have x1, s2, x3, s1, s2, s3. Okay, what are the slack variables? Slack variables are x1, s2, s3. So you come here, s1, s2, s3, s3, like this. Now, what are the CJ of each of those slack variables? So you know already, I will just write, this is 270, and this is 144, this is 225, and this is 0, this is 0, this is 0, like this. So what are those CJ now? S1, everything is 0. So now, the next thing is you have to bring in the figure. You have to bring in all the figures. So for this equation 1 now, I need one person to just call everything for me, CJ, so that let me be sure that you guys are following me. For the equation 1, what am I going to write as all the CJ for equation 1 for fourth constraint? Oh yeah, who is calling?
For
Anybody?
equation, that will be 8,
845100.
4, 5, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0,
For
0.
yeah, okay, equal to 1000, Abi. For
Yes.
equation 2,
Let
tell me equation 2.
let another person say question 2.
Oh yeah, who want to say equation 2 for us?
Five
Anybody?
three
Anybody?
three five three
Five
three
Five,
three
zero
three
three
zero
three.
1 0.
010, right? 650.
Yeah.
Who want to say equation 3? Anybody?
969 001.
9
9690001.
equal to 1260. Perfect, perfect. My head is swell now. So the next thing is your ZJ. So based on our existing
Let
principle,
someone tell us. Let someone tell us.
okay, we want to tell us
Because
this ZJ for
no
everything.
thinking is required.
Everything is
00000.
0.
00000.
Thank you. Oh yeah, Otilo. So the next thing is CJ minus ZJ. What is the answer?
270, 144, 255, 000.
250000.
Okay. Now, so have we reached our optimal solution here?
No, we've not even
Uh,
started.
you said we've not even started. That's hilarious. We have not even started. Oh gosh. Okay. So sincerely, we have not started. So, all right. So since we have not started, now let us start. So, what's our our pivot row? What's our pivot column, please? You know, we have 270, 144, and 225. Which one is the highest, please?
270.
270.
270. So, I like that. Sorry, let me look for my highlighter that I've already drawn here. So, okay. So, just come here.
Also
Okay.
ask us
Now that
the lowest and don't tell us what to do.
Okay, what do you do next now? Now that you have highlighted 270, what do you do next? Can somebody tell me the next steps, please? What is the next step?
We get the row to eliminate by
How do we do
dividing it.
that?
So how do
Okay,
we
we divide
eliminate?
the solution column by
Mm,
the element on the highlighted column.
okay, this one will be 1,000 divided by what?
8 by 8. 650
The next
divided by
one,
5. 650 divided by 5. Then
yeah,
1260 divided by 9.
how much? How much, please? 1,000 divided by 8 is what?
125.
I have the answer. I don't want to be calling the figure. Just I want you guys to participate. This one will be 130, and this one will be 140. Because I've actually solved this. I've solved this question myself today. So I have all the figures there. So now, the next step is to eliminate something here. We know that we are bringing in X1 in our next table, but we need to eliminate something. So which one are we eliminating out of this three? Which one are we eliminating? S1, S2, or S3?
X1.
Hmm? X1,
X1.
Abi. So we
Yes.
have exiting row, exiting variable is equal to S1, entering variable, entry variable is equal to what? What's entering? Exiting is
X1.
S1. Entry is
X.
X1 like this. Okay,
X1. Yes.
so let me also cycle it. Let me cycle this. So like this. Okay, it's okay like this. So yeah, we're good. So you have everything you need now. So this one, I have to bring it down. Yeah. So let's move on. I'm sure you guys are familiar with something like this now. Let's move on to table 2 now. Ibi teacher ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ gbogbo nílé ìbá. Ibi teacher ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ láṣẹ dé. Table 2. So in table 2 now, just if I wish you can just copy and paste like this in your book, the way I'm doing it on the system. I copy and paste fast. That technology, I'm sure they will also do that you can just copy and paste like this easily with your book. Because in your book, you have to rewrite everything one by one. So, we are exiting S1. We're exiting the X1 and we're bringing a new X1, right? So X1. Now, the rule is that for the new X1 we are bringing now, the key element there must equal to 1, Abi. So, meaning that this 8 we have here, sorry. Okay, sorry, I'm supposed to ask you, what is the pivot or key element? Anybody? What is the pivot or key element here? What number is the pivot or key element?
8.
8.
8. So for that
8.
now, you must divide the entire row by 8 because the new figure for that type of key element must be 1. So 8 divided by 8 will give us 1. So you have to divide everything by 8. This one will be 4 divided by 8, which is 1 over 2. Then this one will be 5 divided by 8. Okay. This one will be 1 divided by 8. This one is 0 divided by 8, which is 0. Then this one will be another 0 divided by 8, which is 0. Then this one will be 1,000 divided by 8, which is 125. Sorry, who doesn't understand this? Okay, I need to bring in the CJ. What is CJ for S1? 270. Then we have S2 and X3, which are existing. So 0, 0. Sorry, who doesn't understand up to this point that I've gotten to, please? Who doesn't understand up to the point that I have gotten to? I want to assume that it is clear to all of us. So I will just continue. Now we have a lot of calculations to do. So, but the good news is I may have done it. So I will just be quickly, I will be solving it fast, then you know the figure. Now for S2 now. So S2, it will be S2, S1, S2, X1. So it will be initial value here. The initial value is 5, Abi. 5. 5 minus what? What is the key column element? Is the same 5 here. It is the same 5. You know, we are working on this middle one. Oh. It is still the same 5. So it will be 5 multiplied by what is the pivot element or key element? That's 8. This 8. This 8 is the pivot or key element. 8. Okay. So multiply it by 8. 8. Then you divide it by what? You divide it by no. It's not pivot or key element. So it is the top row. It is the row. It is the row above that 5. So which is it's corresponding, which is 8. Abi, I'm sorry, it is 8. Then your key element is 8. Your key pivot or key element is 8. So what's the answer here?
The answer is 0.
To be 0. Yeah. So the answer is going to be 0. So obviously the answer is 0. Okay. So you will just repeat the same step. Should I keep doing it like this, or I should just write all the figures there? Which one do you guys want? Okay, let's keep doing it. Let's keep doing it. So we show our
No,
workings,
this
Abi.
is
So
three.
the next one we do is
This is
S2. Sorry, I'm not getting you, sir. S2. So the existing value there is 3. Abi, that's 3. This 3 here is 3. It's 3. So the existing value is 3. 3 minus, I told you that 5 will
5.
be 5 will be constant, right? Multiplied by what is the
5.
top row of 5 row of that 3?
That's 4.
Hmm? It's 4, Abi. It's 4, right?
Yes.
So you have 4 divided by what? 8, Abi. 4
Mm-hmm.
divided. I told you that those two will be constant. The 5 and the 8 will be constant here. So what do we have? Solve it now.
1
What
over
did I
2.
get? So my answer is
1
1
over
over 2.
2.
Yep. 1 over 2. Yeah. So the third one is S2, X3. S2, S3. So what's S2, S3 now? So I'm going to pick this one. This is my value,
3
3. 3 minus
minus
5 multiplied by, what's the top row of that 3? It is 5. Abi, it is 5. 5. Then you divide it by 8. Divided by 8. So how much is it, please?
minus 1 over 8.
Minus 1 over 8. That's clear. Which I can also solve maths and be fast like this. Oh gosh. When no.
7,000.
Oh yeah, hey, K, you raise your hand.
7,000.
Yeah, ask. Speak. Your hand has been on since. So yeah, speak now.
Sorry, I'm going back and forth. How do we arrive at using S2? Why not S3?
No. See, we are going to do it one by one now. We are still working on this S2 row. When we finish this one, we'll move on to this one.
Okay. So it will
You
not be
you don't
S3, X1, right?
Yes. Iṣẹ́ tá gbà nìyẹn. 3 variables nìyẹn. Working yìí ó pọ̀ bàyẹ̀ bàjẹ́. Gbogbo working tá ṣe yìí, we'll repeat, we'll finish it here. We'll come here to do the same workings here too for everything.
Okay,
So we are going to repeat it like that's about 7 per row. That's about, we are doing this 14 times. We are only done 3 now. That's why I was asking if I should just fill in the figures for us. I think we should do that, Abi. We should do that. Since you know the steps we are following, Abi, should I just fill in the figures for us?
So when we get to
Hello?
S3, you are still going to refer to X1 too now. As
Okay,
in
let me
row.
do let me do one more, then I'll move on to S3. I want to just fill in the figures since you already know the steps. So we have S2, S1 now. Let's do S2, S1. Sure, you get X2, S1. So what's the initial value? S2, S1. This one is 0. So it would be 0 minus 5 multiplied by, what's the top row value of that 0? 1. Okay?
1.
S is 1, Abi. 1 divided by 8.
Yes.
So 1 divided by 8. How much?
Minus
How much
5
do we
over
have?
8.
Minus
5
5
over 8.
over. So please, ladies and gentlemen, so follow these steps and finish everything here. So let me just copy the figure. This one is what we got: 0, 1 over 2. This is 0, 1 over 2. Okay, minus 1 over 8. Okay, here minus 5 over 8. That's what we got, right? Yes, minus 5 over 8. Then we have 1 and 0. 1, 0. Then here will be 250. 250. Yeah. So let me show you X3, right? Let me show you 1 or 2 for X3 also. Then we move on. Let me show you 1 or 2 for X3 so that you will understand S3. Then we'll move on to the ZJ. So for S3, so I will say S3 X1. So it's still the same now. So what is the initial value? That's 9. Okay, it is your 9 here. This 9 got gone. Initial value is your 9. Okay, initial value is your 9 minus what is your key column value? It is still the same 9 because it's on the same row. It is still the same 9. So you have 9 multiplied by what is your corresponding row. Now, don't be deceived here. Everybody, I need your attention. You might think that your corresponding row is 5. No, your corresponding row will be the row where you have that your key element. Oh. So it is going to be this row here, not the middle row. Don't be deceived. When I was solving this, and I made that same mistakes too. So your corresponding row value will be the top, which
That's
is
actually what I wanted to get clarification on.
which is 8. So I made the mistakes too when I was solving my own. So 8, then multiply by what's our pivot or key element? Is same 8. So what is this answer? What does it give us?
0.
It gives us what?
0.
0. Yeah. So let me do 2 more. S3, X2. S3, S2. What's the initial value for S3, S2? What's the initial value? 6. It is 6, Abby. It is 6 minus what?
6.
What is it will be 9 times what? The top row value of 6. What do we have as top row value of 6? That should be 4, Abby. 9 times 4
4. Yeah.
divided by 8. Divided by 8. So what do we have?
That will be 3 over 8. Minus 3 over
3
8.
divided by, no, it's 3 over 2. Do it well.
Okay, but minus 3 over 2, sorry.
No,
That will
it's
be 3
not. It's
over
not
2.
minus. It's not minus. It's
It's
3
3 over
over 2
2.
now.
It's 3 over 2, sorry.
Yeah.
It's 3 over 2.
So let's do the third one. X3, X3. So I will stop here so that I will continue. So what is the initial value for that one too? It's 9, Abby. 9. So you say 9 minus 9 multiplied by, what's the top row? What's the top row
5.
value for that? It's 5, Abby. 9 times 5. divided by 8. So what do we have?
37 over 8.
It will,
Abi?
it will give you 27 over 8
7
or
over
something like
8.
that. Yeah, so guys, complete it. Let me just fill up this table for you. Let me fill it up this with all the figures. So just complete it working like that. So this one will be, it will be 0, 3 divided by 2, then 27 over 8, then minus 9 over 8. Yeah, that's the last one. Then this one will be 0, and this one will be 1, and this one will be 135. So if you work it out, you get, so what's going to be our ZJ? Now in this case now, ZJ
Azim,
is
you made a
27.
mistake. That solution
Where?
for S3, 12 is equal to 35. You need to change it.
No, it is 1,
But
2,
under
it is
solution,
135. It's 135 now. This is the figure. It's 135 like this now. Okay, so
you wrote 12
ZJ
is
now
equal
will
to
be,
35.
yeah, it's corrected now. I understand. So X1 now, this ZJ will be 270 multiplied by 1. This one will be 0 times 0, 0 times 0. So it will still be 270, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then here will be 270 times 1 over 2, 0 times 0, 0 times 0. So
135.
it simply means 135, correct? Then this one will be 270 times 5 divided by 8. Then 0 times 0. So that should give you what, 675 divided by 4 or something. That's what you get. Then this one will be 135 divided by 4. Okay, so here is going to be 0 and 0.
0, 0.
So just do the multiplication, you get the same answer. Then this one will be 33, 950. So then the next thing is to do CJ minus ZJ. So this is 0. Okay, so this 144 minus 135, that should be 9. Then we
9.
have, this one will be 225 divided by 4. Yeah, if we subtract 225 minus 75, then this one will be minus 135 divided by 4. This will be 0, this will be 0. This will be 0, 0, right? So that's all for this table. So if you check this table now, we have not reached our optimal solution. So because we have not reached the optimal solution, we need to move on to table 3. Why have we not reached? Because this one is the problem for us. These two, they are still positive. So you need to move on to table 3. Now, in moving on to table 3, you need to, so what I will do is that I will just show us this thing, then maybe we'll end it here, right? So let me just show us the highest and the lowest, then we'll just end it here. So if you check now, what's the highest for this particular cell? The highest is actually this 225 divided by 4. So you copy this, paste it here. This is it, right? So then the second one is what? Okay, for this area, so you would divide this figure by what you have here. So and get the new ratio here. So if you divide 125 divided by 5 over 8, you should get like
200.
well, you will get like 200, right? Then here too, you will get like 2000 or so. And here you will get like 40. So if you check now, the lowest is the 40 here. The lowest is the 40. 40 is the lowest. So you just take that one as well. Oh. The lowest is 40. So you do it like this, 40. Okay, so this is how it is. So now we've known that our entry variable. So in this case now, entry variable, the one we are bringing in, entry variable is x3, then exiting variable is what? Which one
Is
are we exiting? You are
S3.
exiting S3.
S3.
So my prayer is that tomorrow Dr. Abbas should just limit the test to 2 variables. This 3 variable is simple, but it's time consuming. So now let's move on to the third table, right? Table 3. We'll move on to table
Sorry,
3
question.
fast. Yeah, ask.
So to get the ratio is the key column difficult there divided by what we have in the solution, right? But
No,
what I'm
ratio is
getting
this
is
now. This 125 here. No, 125 divided by 8/5. Just say 125 times 5. 125 divided by 5/8. So that will be 125 times 8 divided by 5. Do it fast. You have to change that 5/8 to 8/5. It will be
is the
125
ratio.
times 8 divided
Is the
by.
ratio. No,
No. What are you saying? I'm not getting you.
the ratio.
Ratio for which one?
Table 2. Abi.
Yes. So what is the issue with it? What is the issue with it? Tell me.
How did we get there? I think I've missed up.
How did we get this ratio, Abi?
Yes.
Okay, it is this 125 that you have here, Abi. Divided by 8/5. And if you want to turn it to multiplication, it will be 125 times 8 divided by 5. Can you press that on your calculator and tell me what you get? It will be 125 times 8 divided by 5. Can you quickly press that now?
So
Did you
5.
get 200?
No. 5 divided by 8
One
times
No, not like, okay, do that also. No, not
times
like that,
125.
bro. Not like that. No, you are dividing this one by this one now. It will be 125 divided by 5/8. Now, mathematically, it will be 125 times 8 divided by 5, because you have to change that 5/8 to 8/5. I don't know how to explain it more in math. Do you understand the math?
All right.
It's not
I
clear,
get it
Abi?
now. It's clear now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so what do we need to do? So what we need to do now is we need to bring in x3. So the easiest ones to do, guys, the easiest ones to do is the variable you are bringing in. But that one is the easiest ones to do. So entering variable is s3 and exiting variable is s3. So just quickly come here in your new table. You call x3 here, you are bringing it in. So s3 is 225. So for this one now, where you have your key element, it must equal to 1, Abi. So which means that this 27/8 now must be 1. So you have to divide the entire stuff with 27/8. So that's what you need to do. That 27/8 where you have the intersection must be 1. So must divide the entire row by 27/8. So let me quickly do that now. This one must be 1. So you must divide everything here by 27/8. So the first one we have is 0. So it will always be 0. 0 divided by 27/8 is 0. Right? So here 2 is what? We have 3/2. So 3 divided by 2 divided by 27/8. This is it. 3 divided by 2. Where is my divided sign on the keyboard though? Divided by 27/8.
That's
If you solve this one,
4/9.
if you solve it mathematically, you will have 4/9. Perfect.
4/9.
So you have 4/9. So the rest is the same thing because time has really gone. So this will be 1/3.
1/3.
This will be 0. No, this is minus 1/0. 8 divided by 27. Then here you have your 40. So this is exactly what happened here. Then now for those old ones too, since you are retaining X1 and S2, you bring them back again. X1 and S2. So for X1, we have 270. For S2, we have 144. So the same steps that we follow here, all these steps, you have to follow everything here. So I'll just give you the solution direct because I'm tired already. So let me just give you the solution direct. 1, 2 over 9. So you can rework it on your own. 0, 1 over 3.
Sorry,
0.
Kazim. Hello,
Yeah,
Kazim.
minus 5.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
I'm
for
with you.
that
I'm with you.
S2 is supposed to be 0, the coefficient, right?
S2
For
supposed to be.
S2,
The
S2,
coefficient
That's it.
is
S2.
0.
That,
Yes.
that's it. That's a sign of being tired. So here should be 100. Yeah. So I've solved it. This is what I got when I solved it. So this one's too follow the same pattern that we use in table 2 for this also. So you are going to have 0 here as well. Then here will be 5 over 9. Here will be 0. Here will be minus 2 over 3. Here will be 1. Here is 1 over 27. And here will be 30. So this is what you will have if you apply all this formula here. Just know that the most important thing is that your key column will be this. This is what you will use for everything. Corresponding row value must be value that falls under your key column row here. So that is what you will use for everything. So for example, okay, don't let me even start. So that's exactly what you will use for everything. This value here. So just keep changing your key row value and you are good. Pivot element is the same, which is 27 over 8 for key element. So once you have done this now, the next is to calculate ZJ. So what is ZJ? 270 times 1, then 0 times 0, 270. So this one will be 270 still. Then for this one now, it's going to be 160. You have some mathematics to do here. So it's 270 times 2 over 9 plus 225 times 4 over 9. It will give you 160. Then here, it will give you 225 because 270 times 0, 0 times 0, 225 times 1. Then here, you will get like 15. So 270 times 1/3 and 225 times minus 1/3 will give you like 15. Then here is 0. Here is 50 over 3. And here will be 36,000. So final step is to calculate CJ minus ZJ. So here we'll be having 0. Here is about minus 16. Here is also 0. And here is minus 15. That's 0 minus 15, right? Then you have 0 here. And here you have about minus 50 over 3. So that's exactly what you have. So with this now, we have reached our optimal solution here because there is no net positive again. This is the optimal solution for these questions now. All right. So let me quickly show you something now. So we are done with these two. Now, the next one is the personnel. They said this one is the personnel manager of the company claimed that by recruiting additional labor force, the combined profit can be increased, assuming no other changes exist. So they want to increase labor force. Now, if you check our optimal solution now, what is labor cost itself? Let's check. Labor cost is, what is the labor? I didn't show you that, right? Oh, I didn't show you that for this question. Wait, wait. Oh, I just jumped, Sha. Okay, labor is they want to increase labor. So this is labor, right? So labor, this is the labor, the second equation. That is what they want to do. They want to increase the labor force. Okay, they want to increase the labor force. So, but if you check our solution now, what we are choosing as our solution does not include the labor. Okay, it does not include the labor. So it is not feasible for them to choose labor because we're only working on X1 and X3. We are not choosing the labor. So labor is not part of our optimal solution. So that is the reason why choosing the option of labor will not be feasible. So for this second questions here, where is it? The question itself. Or the personnel management. So here it is not feasible because the labor itself is not part of the optimal solution. So that's exactly what you will do. Then the third one state that we should form the dual. So forming